You are now listening to the fastest show on IE Sports Radio. My name is Darryl Kinsey Jr. Welcoming you. Checking out the lap extra mile for today, February 17th, 2025. And it feels so great to finally be back on our normal day of Monday after all of the weather and craziness that we've had to deal with. And help me talk about everything that went down this weekend, of course, are my co-hosts, Jenn B and Christopher Lehman. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Well, it's nice to see all of you once again. If you're listening live or listening on Spreaker.com on the re-air, thank you so much for listening to this edition of The Extra Mile. We're going to pay some bills. When we come back, we'll get started with the show and our review of the Daytona 500. Sit tight. We'll be right back after this.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
And we're back here on the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Darryl, Jen, and Chris here with you this evening to discuss everything that went down in the Daytona 500 weekend. But before we get to that, Chris, it is so nice to see you back once again. It's been a minute, and good to have you back.
Yeah, just had to get the recording space up and ready to go, so you'll see the background behind me change a little bit over the coming weeks as I just kind of keep cleaning out, my basement hole that I've carved out to have set up. So, but yeah, and actually I see it looks like Michael just popped in too. So, but yeah, happy to be back.
So we got all four with us. Michael Ward just jumping in now. And I will say it's nice to be back to having all four of us And we have a lot to get to. We're going to start with the Daytona 500. I know we also want to talk about, because I've been waiting for this for a couple of weeks to talk to you, Chris, about the swearing row that has been going on in the FIA. We're going to get to that today because they finally handed out the first penalty of that nonsense. But we're going to start with the Daytona 500 and the Daytona week in review. What I will say is we had some good racing this weekend, but we also had a lot of crashes.
Yeah, I'm just watching the last lap one right now, and yeah, it was, I would say we all expected the big one to happen at around, lap 5, with about 5 laps to go. And they didn't disappoint. There were 2 wrecks on the last lap. So, but I do have to commend NASCAR. They did let these guys race it out. So that last lap, even though William Byron won and that sucks, at least they let him race. I'm happy about that.
And they got taken over a barrel this weekend for how they threw the cautions. Unfortunately, we had the real bad one that was during the second dual race that ended up being won by Austin Cindric. And then they threw the caution with at the truck race, which also caused some consternation. So they just decided we're going to let Michael deal with that in the background. But I think they just decided at this point, look, unless somebody is dead back there, we're not going to throw this caution. And they let them roll out. They let them race it out. And William Byron ended up picking up the win. But I want to go back to what happened with Ryan Preece, because this kid cannot catch a break. He gets speared in the door at Talladega last year. He then comes to Daytona in July and basically does the Lightning McQueen crash from the start of Cars 3. And then he comes to Daytona again with 4 laps to go and becomes a space shuttle pilot. I don't know why Ryan Preece is becoming our Ryan Newman at the new Ryan Newman when it comes to super speedway races, but I think he hates it.
There's like a meme photo of him in like an astronaut suit on Twitter.
He actually used it as his Twitter profile pic. I'll see if I can get that up to show everybody. But yeah, Michael, welcome in, and we'll start with you. I think Ryan Preece is done with super speedway racing.
All until he wins one, and then when he wins one, he's like, "Oh no, I love these races."
That's usually how it goes. Your love of the races depends on how you've run in them, and this is currently Ryan Preece's picture on Twitter. For those that are watching, for those that aren't watching, it's a Photoshop of Ryan Preece wearing a space shuttle uniform, because that is what he has become over the last few weeks when it comes to super speedways. But a lot of folks will make a lot about what happened with the Cup Series this weekend with the Daytona 500, and I know NASCAR season is back when we are overanalyzing the crashes at super speedways in the Cup Series. And there's been a lot of that on Blue Sky and on Twitter this week. And even Matt Weaver decided to fan the flames with the article on Monday. However, nothing will hold a candle to how bad that ARCA race was, if anybody saw it. That was probably the worst super speedway race I've seen in 10 years.
The only way I knew that race was happening was because I kept hearing Cletus McFarland was in it.
He was in it, and so was Elio, and they had 3 multi-car wrecks before lap 35.
My goodness. They were busy.
Just to tell you how that race went. It was not great, and I will put it like this when it comes to ARCA. 2 things can be true. It's a lot of drivers that don't have a lot of experience getting their chance to run at Daytona, and that's commendable. At the same time, none of these drivers need to be racing at Daytona and Talladega. I think we can agree with that. So the undercard races here for the truck, for NASCAR, before we get back into Daytona 500, the truck race was won by, on the track, Parker Kligerman. However, that truck ended up being low on both sides of the rear, and that win ended up going to Corey Heim. Meanwhile, in the Xfinity Series, a rear end issue sidelined Austin Hill when he was in a dominant position in the Xfinity race, but it really didn't matter because another RCR car would end up picking up the slack, and that is Jesse Love, who ends up winning in the Xfinity Series race on Saturday, which CW got a lot of rave reviews for how their coverage went. I don't know if you guys got to check out the race, but Adam Alexander and the crew, they did a good job, and I do like the graphics where they have the order on the bottom of the screen instead of the top of the screen.
I thought that looked really good. Really good. Really pleasing to the eye.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's usually I'm so used to it being on the left, the graphics being on the left of the TV.
Mm-hmm.
So having it at the bottom was a bit jarring at first, but I thought it blended pretty well.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get into the Daytona 500 a little bit. We know who was there at the start. We are not going to go over that very much, other than it's funny that the Keep Politics Out of NASCAR crew really likes politics in NASCAR when it's a certain guy. That's as far as I'm going to go with that. If I go any further, we're not going to have this show anymore. So we're going to continue. After the rain, the fuel saving it was a weird race to me because there was like two sets of Daytona 500s. There was the first 160 where they were saving fuel and they ran 3 wide the whole time, and they were able to get runs, and it was pretty decent. And then go time came, and that third line, I wish we still had ESPN Sports Science around as a show so they could do a episode on this, because I need to know why the minute they put the hammer down on these cars, that third line just cannot form when they try to push. And unfortunately, once again, Bubba Wallace gets caught up in that, where he jumps to the high line. He thinks he's going to have the advantage. That line just dies, and he ends up in the middle of the wreck. Ends up finishing in the 29th spot. And
He looked strong out there, too. That was the worst part.
well, and that's the thing. Two-thirds of the 2311 cars looked strong and had an opportunity to finish strong. Herbst gets caught up in the final wreck after he was already damaged. Bubba got caught up in the first big one with 4 to go, and Tyler Reddick ends up in the 4th spot. But Chris, it's weird because for me, it was a better race than they were fuel saving almost.
Yeah. I guess to kind of touch on something you had said a couple of sentences before about the third line just having trouble forming when they say, it's go time. I really can't figure out why that third line has trouble developing. I don't know if it's just an issue of my guess would be people are hoping that the guy in front of them jumps out and goes to it so they can just, collect that spot. But yeah, we didn't really see that third line. There were times where it developed and it held its own, but by and large, it was definitely a 2-run race.
I think it's because of just the aero of these cars. I've noticed that these cars don't really suck to the back of each other that much. So I think because they have that difficulty of gaining momentum, it makes people not want to try to run the third line.
Yeah, back in the day, you could just hop out and drive around people, and that you could get your position doing that. And these days you hop out without, having a 10, 15 mile an hour advantage on those guys from the draft. You're just going to the back of the pack is all you're doing.
Yeah, nobody wants to try to make that third line work. It's either you make it work or you don't, and you just go to the back.
Yeah, you pretty much need to be lined up with teammates or manufacturer mates to make, you need at least 4 cars to have any chance of hanging on to your position. So it takes a big effort to get that third line going.
Yeah, and it's not that these cars don't have the drag that the old car had. So you can't really make that third line where you just get the monster runs that they were getting. However, to refresh the goldfish memory of NASCAR fans, yeah, it's going to be that type of show. 5 years ago, we hated that because that was causing a bunch of wrecks because of how big the runs were and people were throwing terrible blocks to try and stop it. But now we want it back when the problem is the drivers are still throwing terrible blocks.
True.
And
this was before winning you're in. So the main issue is not the car. The main issue is the drivers keep throwing terrible blocks.
And I think that's always going to happen, if I'm being perfectly honest.
I don't know how we're going to solve that. It's gonna be tough. I don't know. I really don't know how we solve that. But
I don't know, man. Like I think it's just 5 laps to go. Guy has a run. He doesn't see that he's clear, and he just
just take somebody out.
Yeah.
Elio Castro Neves had a horrible weekend.
Surprisingly, I thought he was going to have a great weekend, but
he
started off bad.
He just kept getting caught in everybody's wrecks. He got wrecked out by no fault of his own during his dual race number 1. He ends up getting spun multiple times in the ARCA race, including after that race ended. And then in the Cup Series race was just minding his own business and gets doored by his teammate who got spun. And Elio ended the weekend on lap 71 out of the race. However, all is not lost for the IndyCar crowd coming to the Daytona 500 because there was rumors that there was a couple of drivers, including Scott Dixon, that might want to come run the Daytona 500 in the future. That is something to watch, especially now with Fox having both races.
So that means more commercials with 18 laps to go?
I hope not.
There were so many commercials.
Yeah. That's unfortunate, but that is what ESPN does. And not ESPN, sorry, that's what Fox does. ESPN does not have commercials.
I was going to say, thanks to Mother's Wax, we don't have to have commercials.
Yeah, but that might be changing, at least who's going to be covering Formula One. There's a lot of rumors that ESPN is going to drop out, and Amazon and Netflix might be battling for dominion over Formula One going forward. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Hopefully it's Netflix.
Netflix would make the most sense, to be honest, given that they already have the TV show. But
yep. And it's not Jeff Bezos.
Yeah. So William Byron ends up picking up the win, his second straight Daytona 500. I think it's time to start putting respect on William Byron's name. Somebody was complaining that Chris is shaking his head.
I will never do that.
I'm sorry. I'm not gonna hear William Byron slander anymore. That man is a 2-time Daytona 500 champion. He has finished third in back-to-back years in the Cup Series finale.
You know what's funny? He says this, yet people still slander Denny Hamlin.
Yeah. I'm just not going to take the slander anymore. Like, the guy is good. We just have to accept it. And also, can we stop trying to move Alex Bowman out of the 48?
Thank you.
Why does everybody keep saying he's going to get fired at the end?
You know the way to my heart, Darryl.
Yes. Like, we got to put respect on the 24 and the 48, but it's particularly the 24.
Particularly the 48.
Well,
They both ran
Particularly
well.
Both.
yeah.
They both did really well.
Yeah, but the reason I say the 24 is because there was a comment on Blue Sky about a middling driver lucking into the Daytona 500. And look, I don't get the William Byron hate. I just don't.
He gets hated?
Extremely. Like, he is very hated, and I don't get it.
Hello, Chris. Can't wait to talk to you during the Formula One segments.
Maybe Chris can shed some light on the hate.
I won't be here in the Formula One segments, depending how this season goes.
Oh, no. You don't get to hide.
Yep.
Yeah, well, it depends.
Retiring on top.
Well, it depends. If his driver gets banned for cursing, you know.
Yeah.
He's going to be suspended by race.
He won't make it through Bahrain.
Yeah. I'm just going to read this. I'm just going to read these career stats here as far as points ranking. 23rd, 11th, 14th, 10th, 6th, 3rd, and currently 2nd. That is William Byron's career in the points. He has 14 wins to his name, including a career high 6 in 2023 when he finished 3rd in the championship. Last year, he had a down season by his metrics, finished 3rd in the championship. That is not middling statistics.
Nope.
I'm sorry. The kid's good, and we got to accept it. And on this, while we're on the same vein, the 48, I get it. The car had an all-time great in it. Alex Bowman was never going to be Jimmy Johnson.
No one will ever be Jimmy Johnson.
Exactly.
Jimmy Johnson isn't even Jimmy Johnson anymore.
I mean, it's like
Lord have mercy. Lord, no, he isn't.
that car had a part. That car also had a partnership that was pretty unstoppable. Let's not lie. There will never be another Jimmy Johnson. There will never also be another Chad Knaus.
No.
That is true.
Bowman, other than having the down year in 2023, he bounced back big time in 2024. He's got a career as far as wins that most drivers would kill for. Put some respect on their names, please. Like, it's ridiculous that we have to have these conversations every time these drivers win a race that people think they didn't deserve. But
also, just one more thing. There's one driver whose car remains the same every race of the year.
Mm-hmm.
The Ally 48.
Yes.
The only full season sponsor still in NASCAR, Alex Bowman.
And that says something. Yeah. And that says something in
That's going to get you a
2025.
fine.
I said suck it, not fuck it.
Nope.
Well,
Now we're definitely going to get fined.
Chris, that's about a $30,000 fine.
It's only $10,000 for your first offense, Michael.
That's
Send it to my account.
10,000 pounds.
All right.
Anyway, we're going to come.
Euros.
That's also a probation. All right.
So we're going to talk. We're going to talk about that on the other side of this break. Also, IndyCar, it's got some self-starting that's coming that you will see in St. Petersburg, and we'll go over how the testing went at Sebring today as they wrap up their final test before the season starts next week. We'll talk about all of that next in Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at iSports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at iSports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making iSports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Big Mike from Indie Sports Nation. Come hang out with me each and every Friday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, where we talk things Indiana sports. We talk Colts, Pacers, Fever, Indy Ignite, and we dive into the college scene as well. Boilermakers, Hoosiers, Irish, Bulldogs, and every school in between. And we don't stop there. We'll sprinkle in some NHRA and cover the IndyCar series. From the turf to the hardwood to the track, we got you covered. Come hang out with your boy, Big Mike, each and every Friday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Indie Sports Nation, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we're back here in the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. The gang's all here. Thank y'all all so much for listening this evening, or wherever you're listening here to the IE Sports Radio network, whether it be live on YouTube or on Twitter as well, or via Spreaker.com on the re-air and wherever you get your podcast. So let's go ahead and rock on. We had a couple of we had one reaction to Chris's little outburst, and we're actually going to go out of order to talk about this because, one, I've been waiting to talk about this for a while, and it's just so stupid. The cursing rule now has its first victim in the FIA, and this is from Autosport. Adrian Formax was fined 10,000 euros and hit with a further suspended fine of 20,000 euros for inappropriate language during a World Rally Championship television interview. This is via autosport.com. We're going to skip down to the offending statement. This happened in stage 11 for the Frenchman. He started the stage without his helmet strap being fastened, got himself into trouble. And he says, there's a lot of sweeping in the beginning. We effed up yesterday, referring to the incident, and copped a 10,000 euro fine. At this point, why are we even interviewing the drivers if we're that mad or that scared that they're going to curse? Like, it can be bleeped. That is why the FCC here, there's a 6-second delay. And you hit the button, you bleep the word, and you move on. What exactly are we doing? There are so much other problems that the FIA, or bigger problems the FIA could be dealing with. And they choose, as we lost Michael there, we'll get him back in a minute. And they choose this. Chris, I'll start with you because your driver is the one that's like acutely involved in this nonsense. What is your take on this diatribe?
I can't probably give you my actual thoughts because that would get us booted off of most platforms. I think it is. It's just ridiculous.
Mhm.
It's. I really struggle to say this in a way that does not come out just terrible, and it would just say that this is the dumbest thing I think they could possibly worry about, short of. But this is the FIA, so they're concerned about what kind of underwear their drivers are wearing and whether they have jewelry on. So it just seems a little ridiculous the way that they do things. It really should not matter if a driver curses on their radio to the pit wall. I get it, maybe in the press conferences, but it's just the crackdown on swearing is just childish, and that's probably, again, the only nice way that I can put it without getting a fine myself.
Yeah. And Michael has joined us once again. Michael, I'll bring you into this now from the view of that's our first penalty in the WRC. We have Formula One coming up, and we know they play the radios, and we know the drivers, they get hot under the collar during a Formula One race because it's a Formula One race.
Mm-hmm.
I'm concerned someone's going to lose the championship over this.
Hello, Chris.
What?
I said hello, Chris.
Hello, Michael.
I really don't want this to happen to a certain Dutch driver.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it's going to happen one too many times, and it's going to cause a dramatic reform. And what I mean by a dramatic reform, I think the drivers will get involved and honestly stop showing up to races.
Well, Max will stop showing up on the account that he's going to be locked out of the races. Because bro is not going to stop cursing.
How much do we want to bet that Verstappen gets the first penalty and then just curses 2 more times so he can get the suspension and just leaves?
If that RB21 isn't dialed in,
well, especially since I don't know when Kelly's due, but bro's going to go ahead and get himself suspended so he can go home, spend time with his newborn.
I could see that.
Or manage his iRacing team. But yeah, like Chris was saying, I personally think this is a really, really stupid rule. You know, these guys risk their lives on a day in, day out basis. Some of them do this weekly, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't be allowed to say the F-bomb when something happens.
It's not even the F-bomb. It's the F-bomb on the radio. This is my concern. Because this also applies to the radio. They don't know when their transmissions are being aired.
They don't.
They collect all the transmissions and then air them out when they find something particularly spicy that they need to prove a point.
And they're always
or
delayed.
Make a point.
They're always delayed half a lap in getting those out there too. And half a lap, like being generous. Usually they go back to it a couple laps later.
Which means you can bleep them out.
Yep.
If it's so much of an issue. I think the only thing where it's an issue is like what Chris said during press conferences. But if it's during the race, like, you know, we don't really care.
And English isn't their first language, so they do need, you know, a little leeway.
Yeah.
So, my first job my first real job was with a Swiss-owned, Italian-run company.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's fancy.
when people would come in from our New York office, they were not American ever. And the first time they were coming in when I started working there, I was warned before they got there. Don't take offense to anything they say. It's normal speech for them. They say things that sound harsh or derogatory to us, but that's just how they talk.
Mm-hmm.
Most of these guys aren't American.
No.
So it doesn't make any sense to me at all. That's how they talk in normal, everyday talk.
Yep. Unless your name's
is.
George Russell.
I feel like there's going to be more making fun of him this year.
Definitely.
Well, he's got a lot to work towards if he's going to fill in the shoes of the guy that just left. Which, speaking of which, we do have the livery reveals coming up. I believe that's tomorrow.
All liveries
For the F1 livery reveal. We're getting closer to the F1 season to start. McLaren and Williams already broke cover on their cars, and at this point we are full speed ahead towards preseason testing. Hopefully it's going to be an exciting season where 2024 left off and not controversy filled. What am I saying? It's Formula One.
there will be some type of controversy.
Yep.
Let's just hope it's the fun type of controversy and not the why is this a thing controversy.
Oh, Darryl, you know what sport this is.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But hey, we are going to take another break. When we come back, self-starting, coming to IndyCar at a racetrack near you. And the first and the final preseason test of the year is done and dusted, and a bitter reminder of why you don't do business with crypto bros. I'll explain that on the other side of this break here on the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
What does he got on the head?
Hey, yo, what's good, Georgia? It's your boy ACS, and if you love sports from the Peach State as much as I do, then Georgia Sports Central is your one-stop destination for down south sports, courtesy of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you a Yellow Jacket at heart, or do you bleed the red and black of the Bulldogs? Do you keep it true to Atlanta with Trey Young, Capella, and the boys? Do you rise up with the Dirty Birds on Sundays? Are you excited to see what the future holds for Michael Penix Jr., Bijan, and the rest of the Falcons squad? Do you live at 755 Battery Avenue? Do you rep for Albies, Acuna, and the rest of Braves country? If so, then let's get united every Wednesday for some Braves, Hawks, UGA, Georgia Tech, Atlanta Dream, Falcons, and more on Georgia Sports Central, only on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we're back here in the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Heading into the final segment of the program as we get ready for the racing season to well and truly begin. We've got the V8 supercars getting ready to run in Australia, getting ready for their first race of the season in Sydney. We've got the NHRA in a couple of weeks racing at Gainesville. Next week, we will have racing in St. Petersburg with IndyCar. This week, NASCAR is heading out to Atlanta Motor Speedway for race 2 of their season, and IndyCar had their final preseason tune-up before the season gets started in Sebring. They had 2 sessions in the morning and the evening. The cars were split up in those sessions. So we had 14 in one and 14 in the other. Here are your testing results via Bob Pockris. As we check that out, Pato O'Ward had the fastest time overall in session 1, ran a 52.3. They ran a modified version of the Sebring International Raceway during this test. So these times are going to sound abnormally fast for this speedway. But Pato O'Ward was the fastest in session 1. Marcus Armstrong was the fastest in session 2. You see those times on your screen, a 52.34 to a 52.36. Alex Palou third, a 52.49. Scott Dixon, however, only got 2 laps in. Not sure what happened with his vehicle, but that is a concern going into the season next week. Hopefully that's not more gremlins with the engine, as Scott Dixon last year, one of the few teams to really struggle with the new hybrid engines. But we've got testing sheets from IndyCar. We're close to going racing again in this series, and the road to the Indy 500, first race on Fox next week. We've had some great activation with IndyCar during the Daytona 500 weekend. And what's our excitement level for IndyCar coming up next year?
100.
I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited. Definitely excited to see who can stop Alex Palou, Jen, because he has been the dominant power over the last couple of years in IndyCar, and he didn't collect a lawsuit last year, so that's good.
Woohoo! Yes, that's definitely a positive. Maybe one of those 2 guys that tested faster than him and give him a run for his money.
Yeah. Also, big ups to Stingray Robb was 6th in session, or 6th overall. He was 4th of the drivers in test session 1, 52.7 for Stingray Robb. So not bad. Hopefully, former guest of the show, Stingray Robb, can have a much better season than he did last year, because I think we spent most of the time watching that car sitting sideways on the racetrack, usually not in one piece. But if he gets into that situation, he won't have to wait for the AMR safety crew anymore, because IndyCar will now allow the drivers on road courses and street circuits to self-start the car using the hybrid system. Last year, they were not allowed to, and that system was introduced mid-year to allow the teams to come to grips more with the hybrid system. But starting in 2025, cars will be able to be self-restarted from a stall. And I'll throw it out to everyone. That should allow us to avoid or to have less cautions at street and road courses, because we don't have to send someone out to now go get a car that is stalled.
One hopes that is the case.
Yes.
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 And the hope is that the system also functions properly, because they are supposed to have an anti-stall and it doesn't always work.
Yeah, the self-starting is not really helpful if it doesn't work.
Yeah. They are not going to be allowed to do it at ovals, of course, because there are concerns, obviously, that if they restart, they'll end up driving or trying to restart and get back onto the course. There's concerns that could cause accidents, so they are going to continue with the old system at the ovals, which is particularly good for the Indy 500, because we know that's a place where accidents can be huge. So last story before we get ready to wrap up tonight. Unfortunately, Connor Daly, his sponsorship may be in jeopardy. A story broke last week during Daytona 500 weekend that unfortunately the sponsor that he's carrying, Polkadot, which is a crypto Web3 based organization. If you know anything about that space, you know where this is going. He had the money lined up, about $3 million to race this season with Junko's Hollinger Racing. However, and I'll try to explain this for those of us that are gainfully employed and don't understand any of this. The short version is that it's a decentralized company, so everybody gets a vote in it. One of the major shareholders decided on a whim, without talking to anybody, when this deal was being discussed last August up till now, decided just to vote against it. So that $3 million that Connor Daly thought he had is gone like a week before the season starts. Web3, everybody. Web3. I think
we didn't even talk about Pitbull.
No, and we'll get to that in a minute, because there's not a lot of information about that. What happened with Pitbull leaving Trackhouse, but with Connor, it's just we all love the guy. He's got a heart of gold. It feels like a situation where he was a little bit too trusting, because unfortunately, you get in bed with these crypto companies, it's just a maze of rug pulls and reneges on deals, and unfortunately, Connor's going to be another name added to the list, which could potentially hurt his season, because Junko's, they're kind of hurting for money right now.
Yep, we see it time and time again when it comes to crypto and DC Solar.
Yeah, that was one of the big ones. DC Solar. That one almost cost us Ross Chastain.
Yep.
By the way, he lost his ride for a while because of that. And Michael, as we sit here, it just feels like racing and grift sponsors kind of goes hands in hands. I'm immediately reminded of Rich Energy when they sponsored Haas for a bit.
Quote unquote sponsored. Yeah, certain companies that you've never heard of in your life tend to not go well with sponsoring your favorite race team.
No.
So I don't know. Personally, I would avoid them, but as a struggling race team, I would still avoid them. You got to get money some way, but still avoid them.
You should DM Connor Daly and just tell him what a mistake he made.
Yeah, I did.
But don't swear. You'll get fined.
Oh, yeah, don't swear.
Yeah, poor Connor Daly. Hopefully, he will be able to run this season. He was at the test this weekend. For now, he is in the ride, and hopefully he can stay there. And you know what would help cure that disappointment from losing the sponsor?
A
A
nice
win.
tall
win.
glass of rich energy. I'm sorry. I'll see myself out.
Speaking of rich energy, since we're on that topic, has
Why?
anyone ever had that energy drink?
No.
Nope.
I think you can buy it somewhere. Hold on.
I never saw it. We
Is
were
it
gonna
actually a real energy drink?
Apparently.
they
yes.
made cans of it.
That doesn't mean nothing.
Like cans of it exist. People have drank this energy drink. But
Are they still here to tell about it?
There's an effing rich energy drink.
yeah. They changed their name to Lightning Volt. And I don't know what happened to them after that.
It's funny when you visit their website, they don't have a place where you can buy it from.
Because it's not real.
Yeah.
See, if it was, I would have been like 10K likes and I'll try it.
That was a saga on this show when that was going down, the rich energy deal. And
Deal. That wasn't a deal. That was a scandal.
Yeah, that was a whole scandal. That's pretty much set Haas back for years. I think they're still trying to recover from that.
Yeah.
The color black and gold will never be the same again.
No.
Haas and sponsors don't go well together.
Hey, this one seems fine.
For now.
We have Toyota now.
Their last one wasn't so great. Or 2 ago.
I wonder what happened to the Maserati deal, but still.
Well, Maserati is much like a lot of car companies right now, struggling.
Oh, that's a sure.
Struggle bus.
I think everybody's gonna go on the struggle bus. But,
I can tell you who's not struggling. Romano Volkswagen in Syracuse.
oh yeah.
Yep.
Yep, they got me.
Chris, new Volkswagen owner.
Yep. I don't even have possession of it yet.
I really wanted to
I
say
signed for
this. I really wanted to say this, but I decided to chill. I was like, it's not a Honda.
No.
You're not going to support Honda HRC?
Nope. And I would never buy an American car, so Ford's out too. Nope. American car days are done.
Yep.
Had to get it in before the tariffs,
Yeah. Oh, don't laugh too hard, Michael.
I didn't think it was that funny.
Chris, don't make me laugh. It hurts enough as it is.
So before we go, we did hear that, unfortunately, and this was announced at the start of the Daytona or during Daytona 500 weekend, Pitbull no longer a part of Trackhouse. No other information has been released as to why
that was real.
He is no longer with Trackhouse. But it's the end of an era, and now the question is Suarez going to hold on to that ride? Because his bestest buddy, Pitbull, no longer part of the team, and folks think that's going to open the door for Connor Zilic to get that ride next year.
Probably. I mean, if you just rabbit hole that I'm just now kind of coming up with on the fly, but Zilic is sponsored by Red Bull now. Mm-hmm. You've got SVG,
also
who is a Red Bull driver. Wonder if the door is opening there
for Max Verstappen. I'm just kidding.
I would die.
Kyle Larson would poop his pants.
Hey, we could finally get the two greatest drivers against each other.
Max
Yeah.
Verstappen announces Project 91, and then all of a sudden, Kyle Larson just browns his pants.
The thing is, to quote Tywin Lannister, a true king doesn't have to tell everybody he's a king. And Kyle Larson tells everybody he's a king, and Max Verstappen says, "Yep, Kyle Larson's good." So take that how you will.
Well, it's
No,
good to have
Red
Go ahead.
Bull. I would love to have Red Bull racing back in NASCAR. I think they were.
They are.
I think it had a great.
They'll be with SVG.
Well, I think he means as a team.
Oh,
Yeah, as a team, I think they were great when they were here.
Trackhouse is probably about as close as we're getting.
Yeah, Trackhouse is
Yeah.
definitely going to be as close as we're getting. But like I was going to say, I think they were great when they were here. It's just a shame that they never got the ball, rolling.
It just never worked out. But hey, we're going to get ready to get out of here for this edition of the Extra Mile. We're back on Mondays now. Hopefully we get no more snow, so I don't have to do my day job at night.
All right, he just jinxed us.
Well, the storm that's supposed to hit us this weekend is going further south, so we're good there. But next week, it's really going to pick up. We've got the IndyCar season getting ready to start. Let me check the V8 Supercar schedule before. Oh, no, wait. One more thing before we go. Dodge looks to be finally coming back to NASCAR as well.
What?
20 papers. Chris Knight revealed during Daytona 500 weekend that Dodge has submitted the Ram 1500 to be their representative in the Truck Series next year. Possibly a start of rebranding Dodge into NASCAR as the fourth manufacturer that we have been begging for years and 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 years. And
I really like the Mercedes mock-up of stock cars, though.
Same.
Yeah, I wish we could get that, but unfortunately, they've got their own problems going on right
and
now.
We need to see the Cadillac replace the Camaro.
Yes.
The Black Wing.
We need the Black Wing in NASCAR. But anyway, getting ready to get out of here. The Supercars Championship gets restarted this weekend in Sydney. You can watch that one on YouTube if you are insane enough to stay up until 1 a.m. to watch those races. NASCAR is also going to be in Atlanta. I heard you, Michael. NASCAR is also going to be in Atlanta this weekend. Truck and Xfinity on Saturday with Cup on Sunday. And next week, we got IndyCar back, and we are off and rolling in the 2025 motorsports season. For Chris, Jen, and Michael, I'm Darryl. You have been you. Thank you for listening to The Extra Mile for this episode, and we will see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.